In this video, we're going to go through the user interface of Fusion. I'm going to show you all of the different areas of Fusion and where the tools and buttons that you're going to need for this tutorial and your F1 in Schools experience are. When you first open Fusion, you'll have an empty file, but I've opened up an F1 in Schools car here just to show you all the buttons once you have a file open. At the very top, you have a file menu, save, undo and redo buttons. Now the first thing to know about Fusion is that you don't open multiple windows. Instead, multiple files are stored as tabs at the top of Fusion. And for example, I could create a new design by adding a tab, exactly how I might do in an internet browser. I can then switch between the tabs to go between my designs. On the right hand side, I have a few buttons for notifications, job status, and a help menu to show me things like the learning panel, documentation, and the Autodesk community forums, all of which are incredibly valuable for your learning experience through Fusion. You can find preferences, if you ever need them, from your icon at the top and clicking on Preferences. The main toolbar is the section below this. On the very left-hand side, we have a large button to swap what are called workspaces in Fusion. Each workspace does a very separate thing. For example, the design workspace does design, but we might find other workspaces to do rendering, simulation, manufacturing, or technical drawings, all of which we will be doing tutorials for in the various modules throughout this course. Inside each workspace, you have tabs at the top of the toolbar to do slightly different things. Now, for this tutorial, we're going to be mostly focusing on the solid tab. So if you ever find yourself with yellow or orange buttons, that probably means you're in the wrong tab. We are looking to use the blue solid buttons. But surface modeling, for example, is a perfectly valid other way of modeling a car, and you may use these tools yourself. Each icon represents a separate tool in Fusion. We have drop-down menus for different sections such as Create, Modify, Assemble and more, where all of the available tools are shown, but the core ones are shown at the top for you. On the left-hand side is what's called your browser. The browser shows all of the information about this file. For example, I can see that I have 4 wheel components, the halo, and my car body inside of here. Inside of each, I can see bodies, I can see sketches, and I can see all the information about individual parts in my design. At any point, I can press the little eye icon to hide or unhide specific objects, whether that be entire components or individual sketches. In the top right, I have the view cube. This allows me to look around my 3D model with ease. I can either click and drag on the view cube, or I can select certain surfaces on the cube to look at those directions on my model. The Home tab will always take me back to the home view. Alternatively, I can use keyboard and mouse shortcuts. Using and scrolling the middle mouse button will zoom myself in and out. Pressing and holding the middle mouse button will pan your design around your screen. And pressing and holding the middle mouse button and Shift will orbit around your model. Now, if you're used to different settings for these shortcuts, this is something that you can change within the Preferences menu to have the default orbit, zoom, and pan shortcuts be the same as some of the other software that you may have used in the past. Down at the bottom is the timeline. This is a step-by-step chronological view of all the tools and processes that you've used to create your model. Each icon represents a different thing that happened. For example, I have sketches, extrudes, mirrors, and fillets. Every step that you take is logged down here at the bottom, and you can scroll through them to change the point in time that you are at that moment. This means that you can go back in time and start modeling something before something else happened, But most commonly what you'll do is you will right click on these icons and use the edit feature. Here I can edit a sketch, or I could edit a feature to change that feature and go back into it. This means that you can go back and change things when they happened, and everything that happens after that will recalculate according to your change to design. This makes it a much more efficient way of designing and iterating on a design rather than having to either remodel it or try and drag surfaces around to adjust them later on. One of the features available to you is the comments section. Since you're going to be working in teams, you can use this to talk to one another about specific aspects of your design. For example, I could zoom into a specific part, type in a comment, and then tell it to save the camera angle view and post this. This then saves that comment inside of the commenting section for your teammates to look at, and when they click on it, it's going to take them back to that view. This is a really great way to collaborate with your team on the design because you can do so through the 3D model rather than trying to have to communicate things in a different way. So those are the core aspects of the Fusion user interface. These are all things that are going to be incredibly useful for you going through this set of tutorials, and especially as you start going into the next video on how to create a sketch.